how difficult it was actually to express the book's concept and all the imagistics and imagery of this in the music, and how actually did it went? You went like in the studio with the book and said, guys, from tomorrow you read this. And 1 month we do it, otherwise you're out.
No, not at all. I mean, at the moment we decided to work on the novel, you know, then I started reading the book because I was only familiar with the movie, of course, you know. And then I read the book, and then Anthony Burgess' biography, which is crazier than the book.
Yeah, that's also it.
So it's amazing life, you know, with the diagnosis from the doctor that he would have like only a year left, and then he survived many years later. So it was very interesting, you know, and especially me and Derek, you know, were reading a lot because we were doing the lyrics, you know, and finding the music titles, and of course Gian and Paul was reading also, so we could relate to certain parts. Oh, this part, you know, could remind, you know, the bombs being kicked on the street, you know, so some stuff like that, you know, like dark alley or something. So that kind of stuff, you know, was going on while we write. But at the very beginning, when we started writing, we didn't connect too much the book, you know, we just like writing ideas, musical ideas, you know, just recording everything, and then we stopped to listen to everything, and then we start really, you know, creating the concept more closely, and reading the ideas for the intros and the guest, you know, playing keyboards, and then the Ludwig Fon, you know, the guy, a friend of mine who came to help also to do the version. So, and step by step, you know, stuff was falling into place.
Actually, the idea for Ludwig Fon, you wanted from the beginning
to
put it on?
Definitely. I mean, Clockwork Orange without Beethoven would be incomplete, especially in a musical representation.
Absolutely.
You know, so that was the biggest challenge, you know, for us really to have this done, you know. But Beethoven it's heavy, you know. I think it's the first heavy metal ever.
Yeah, you can put it like this.
It's just like very intense, you know, very direct, beautiful, you know. So it's very unique. So in that respect, it was not that difficult, you know, to put together. But as I said, this friend of mine, you know, rewrote some of the orchestral parts, and he found the right musicians to build our own, you know, small orchestra in the studio. So we did part by part, and you know, if it wasn't for the book, we will never do that, you know. So it's like a whole learning experience, you know.
Are you really meaning this? Because I have the feeling, I listened on your MySpace page, the 4 tracks from Hubris.
Yeah.
And I had the feeling that what I could listen a little bit and get the vibes out of it, that a lot of hubris comes in relation of these tracks with Ludwig Fon, and
could be.
I kind of felt that it was a huge stimulus for you, a huge impact working with hubris to bring on out Alex for Sepultura. Was it like that?
And hubris was like 4 years in the making, you know, so it took a while. And during these 4 years was, you know, Dante and Alex all together, you know. Of course,
plus your project solos, plus your own
working together,
learning.
Everything. So, and the classical music, man, I love it, you know, since I was very young, and I study classical guitar wherever I can, you know. So it's something that metal and classical have a lot in common, you know, like structures and different changes, tempos and virtuosity, you know. So it's great to have our alibi now to use and do something like that.
And by the way, can you tell us when officially will be Hubris launched in Europe?
Well, I'm gonna have a meeting now next week when we go to Holland, which the label is Dutch, you know.
Yep.
So and so I'm gonna decide, because it's supposed to come out in March, but I think it'll be a little later, because Sepultura album came out, and I mean, just, you know, waiting to not to do everything at the same time.
Right.
It ended up to be that way, but to came out at the same year. But I think I'm gonna put it out the middle of the year. Let's see.
You're talking a little bit about future projects. Will the next Sepultura be also a concept album? For example,
our trilogy.
Your trilogy. For example, something like what I've read so far, some concept album after Os Sertões, the Kids da Cunha.
Yeah.
How about that?
Kids da Cunha. Yeah, it could be something Brazilian like that. I mean, it'll be hard because not that many people will relate to that. But I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, Os Sertões was made famous by Mario Vargas Llosa in his The End of the World. The End of the World book, and it's also kind of publicly known.
But you read it, the Os Sertões?
I read only what Mario Vargas Llosa wrote about it. I did not read the book itself.
Yeah, it's a huge, it's a classic in the Brazilian literature and stuff, and there's many options, many ways, and we're gonna develop our ideas as we go, playing on the road and visit places, and and develop the songs also live and see what happens. I mean, collect ideas and see where we go. I mean,
so you will get the trilogy, huh?
Yeah, it looks like.
Great. Now, because we mentioned Euclides da Cunha, I say Brazil, Andreas, you declare yourself hardcore diehard Paulista.
Paulista.
Sorry. Sometimes I mix
a little bit. Paulistano is the guy from the city of São Paulo, and Paulista from the state of São Paulo.
From the state. Yeah, you are from São Bernardo do Campo.
São Bernardo, yeah. It's like a satellite city, just neighbor of São Paulo.
But I just read recently that it's like the core of all the Paulista. São Bernardo do Campo is the alma mater.
It's where our president Lula made his career, his political career.
Exactly.
And there's the big factories like car companies there, like Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen, Ford, GM, all in that region. So the crisis is there.
Yeah, right. But actually, I mentioned São Paulo for some other reasons. Because as you are a Paulista, so I imagine you are deeply anchored in São Paulo's state and city history and traditions, and you kind of know everything which happened there. And I just learned that São Paulo marked a new era basically in Brazil's artistical and cultural development when we think at the Semana de Arte Moderna in 1922, when the modernism in the Brazilian culture was launched. How is it actually today? Is still São Paulo the center of new avant-gardistic movements, or if you want it like, is still the epicenter of, I wrote it, cultural earthquakes in Brazil?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, São Paulo, it's everything. Anything happens in São Paulo. So São Paulo and Rio, but São Paulo, it really is the financial power, and people from all over the country come to São Paulo to try a better life, a job, and that's why we have so many people, like 20 million people, in São Paulo, and everything happens there, every concert and car expositions and everything, big like sports events and stuff like that. So yeah, you can say São Paulo still is the direction, cultural direction. Of course, we have the north of Brazil, which cities como Recife and Salvador, which also bring a lot of the Brazilian cultural mixture, that make Brazil so rich, in that, musical and arts in general, But
which put a local touch.
Everything. And Brasilia, also with the Brazilian rock scene, a lot of bands came from Brasilia, but they all came to São Paulo or Rio, to do something. The same with the Baianos, the Salvador guys, they Nação Zumbi from Recife also. Everybody in São Paulo or Rio, because it's where everything happens. But they carry that, cultural baggage, of course, from the place they're from, So, but everything's there.
It's in the same
time. A door in and out of the country, the main door, and so.